Welcome to Resilient Minds 365, where we discuss the resilient stories of entrepreneurs, professionals, and students with mental illnesses to encourage you to strive, thrive, and live in abundance. I'm your host, Cleone Crawford. Welcome to another episode of Resilient Minds 365, where we discuss the resilient stories of entrepreneurs, professionals, and students with mental health challenges to encourage you to strive, thrive, and live in abundance. I'm your host, Cleone Crawford. Today, guys, we have two special guests with us. We have Mark Slee and Harry Derbitsky. Who is Harry Derbitsky? So first, we'll just kind of introduce him and then we'll let you know who Mark Slee is. Harold Davinsky is the president of ACT Incorporated, which is Advanced Coaches Training. They specialize in projects and trainings in these major areas: addicted and low income, high risk, Indigenous, Native American, mental health issues, educating and counseling, mentoring. They also have Zoom rooms and sessions worldwide in North America, Europe, Asia, Africa, Oceania, and South America. His understanding is expressed with his insights regarding the three universal principles of mind, consciousness, and thought, as uncovered by his teacher, Sydney Banks, who stated in the book, The Missing Link. All human behavior and social structures on Earth are formed via mind, consciousness, and thought. With that said, we're going to be introducing you to Harold Davinsky and Mark Slee. Hi, Harold. How are you today?
Uh, I'm I'm really good, thank you, Cleone. Good to be here. So I'm an international three principles educator that goes around helping people and doing projects, mostly interestingly overseas, because of Zoom type of thing, and and so people come to me and although I have never had diagnosed with a mental illness scenario or ever took a psychology course, I I people come to me because they want to be helped, especially in the spiritual understanding of the physical mental world, the connection between the spiritual and the mental side of life, which so and I'm good at that. And so the first thing that I do is I bring a good feeling in. I don't analyze the past. It's all based on a good feeling. And so the group just started. One guy, actually the one who didn't show up, he uh, he had an ability, Cleone. I'm sure you've seen it, to go very, very high into the spiritual realities of life.
Wow.
But on this level that we are here, diagnosed loser, 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 and loser, and all mental health issues that you're very familiar with. And we had a moment where he had soared, but I could see he was giving me the energy, the reason why he was feeling good. And
Mm-hmm.
that's right against my teaching. It's not me, it's you. And if you experience a good feeling, that's coming from you, no matter what it is. If you're in Hawaii and you have a good feeling, yes, Hawaii is beautiful, but it's coming from you, because you could be bummed out in Hawaii too, if you want,
Right.
type of thing. So so I so I said to him, almost like this, I whispered in his ear, like I'm whispering in your ear, you realize how beautiful you are? And he did this
Of
for
course.
about 3 minutes. And then a big smile came on his face, and he had it. He,
Hmm.
he had never seen his own beauty. When you look at your own beauty from a different level of consciousness, your thoughts are different.
Okay.
You're out, the things that you're diagnosed die away
Hmm.
until until you think about it. And you don't think about worry. Like, worry is like this. I'm holding on to something. Oh, I won't let it go. And what's the answer? Let it go. Then you're not worrying, because you're thinking about something else.
Right.
And because he had that spiritual connection, he just naturally found that feeling inside himself. You see, he was pointing towards me as the reason he was happy. He was pointing towards me because I was the one with the big titles and all that type of stuff. And he had come to me. But he didn't realize that I was getting all this energy from him when he was soaring. He was so wise and beautiful. And so from that, another member came in, same type of experience. Now we have 6, and we call it Mental Health Transformations Group. And 4 out of the 5 are in England, and 1 is from Croatia, and I'm from Canada. And all we do is we share on that higher, that feeling level. See, when you have good feelings and understand where it comes from, thought creates feeling. When you understand that, you stop giving away all your power and you stop listening to what everybody says. Because you know, as well as I do in mental health, there's a lot of nonsense out there.
Right.
And also the thing that I've noticed is it seems to be a field that people are examining the possibility of new horizons, new ways of doing things. The old pharmaceutical approach is not working. And obviously the doctors don't know what they're talking about either. And so people are actually wanting to be happy and content. Now, Mark is a PhD physicist, brilliant in the mind and stuff like that, and able to get involved in an amazing project. But of course, you add acute depression into it and acute addiction to codeine and benzos, then you have a whole different person.
That's very true.
Yeah, and he had a transformation. So he brings a different flavor. And before I let go, our group is amazing. We're talking all over the world now. This is, mostly at first in England, to be honest, but now we're branching out. It's the power of the group is not Harry Derbitsky. It's the stories, the transformation stories. Nobody's going to listen to me, Cleone. Nobody. But they will listen to transformational stories.
Oh, yes, definitely.
Absolutely. And so with that in mind, with that small introduction, go ahead, Mark. Can you tell us a little bit about your song and dance?
Well, it's good you say song and dance because I am very musical.
Yes.
I was I was born into a Catholic family, a very loving family. As I had a twin sister and an elder brother, elder sister, a younger brother, and younger sister. And I guess in the family, I was classified the one as being the shy one. I blushed a lot when I was young, and I never did like that about myself, and I didn't understand it. But I guess it wasn't until I was around 14 or 15, and I was asked to talk in class out of a book, and I felt myself shaking and became aware of this nervousness that I seemed to have. Around the age of 19, 20, 21, as I was doing my degree, I remember one examination, I crammed a lot for about a month before the exam, just getting up in the morning, working and going to sleep. And the exam went well, it finished. And one warm day, I was running for a bus. And I remember I got on the bus and I was out of breath. And suddenly I became aware of my breathing. And I started having an anxiety attack. And I didn't know what that was. That was my first anxiety attack. So anyhow, that happened. Then I started to have anxiety attacks more frequently. And I went to see the doctor. The doctor gave me benzodiazepines, which I later became addicted to. I tried CBT as uh, to get counselling to help me with my anxiety. Nothing seemed to work. I tried hypnosis. And then I guess I went into my life, into work. I eventually got a job. I was anxious at work, but I used the benzodiazepines to keep myself calm. You know, if I had to do a presentation or anything, I would use benzodiazepines. And at the time, the doctor was freely giving them to me. Um, so I thought I would cope through life like this on benzodiazepines. And it wasn't until I moved to Scotland with my job that I told my doctor I was being prescribed benzodiazepines, and the doctor said, "No, no, I don't do that." You know, and I said, "Well, you've got to because I need them." You know, and I honestly don't know how, but at the time, because the internet didn't exist, uh, I must have found a way to get the benzodiazepines and continue with with the use of benzodiazepines for my anxiety. I suffered from phobias as well. When I was on holiday in my mid-20s, I had an accident on a scooter in Greece. I hurt my back. And it's kind of like sliding doors that you think you wish that didn't happen. But I don't worry about the past now. I only think about the future and then live in the now. Um, I was in a chemist, and my girlfriend said when her father, who died sadly at age 47 from esophageal cancer, when he was in hospital, he took these painkillers from the chemist called soluble sulfidine, which he said helped him better than morphine did. So she said, "Why don't you try those?" So I did, and that helped my back a lot. And in fact, I started to take the tablets and realized that if I took 2 tablets in the morning, it gave me a kind of lift.
Right.
And because of the caffeine and the codeine in them. And then as my career progressed, I became a manager, regional manager, using the benzodiazepines and secretly taking all the time, this was secret, nobody knew, secretly taking the soluble sulfidine to an extent that I would scour the whole of Glasgow where I lived at the time to find different chemists so I could go from one chemist to another so that they wouldn't see me coming in constantly for these soluble sulfidine tablets. If
Mm.
anybody asks me what was that fizzy drink in my cup, I'd say, "Oh, it's a vitamin drink, you know." And I honestly didn't believe I had a problem until, and I eventually existed like this. My blood pressure, because of the sodium content of the tablets, shot up to around about 320 over 100, over 100, 200, something like that. And when I had I remember when I had my medical when I was 50, they were flabbergasted. I expected the medical to go all right, but they told me, "No, your blood pressure is, I'm surprised you're still alive."
Right.
So anyhow, um, I realized after doing research into blood pressure that it was the sodium content of the tablets that was causing the problem. So, being, I thought, well, I need the tablets. What is it that is giving me the lift? It's the caffeine and the codeine. By now, the internet had been invented, and I could buy codeine illegally on the internet, which
Wow.
I started to do. And that became my life in using codeine tablets. I used to wait. I didn't drive with codeine because I know it makes you drowsy, but I would wait for the evening and suffer withdrawal pains through the day. And I gambled as well. And I can't tell you how much I lost gambling. I lost so much. And in fact, it was the gambling which got me into my first rehab, which was July 2019. And I was in rehab for 4 weeks with no drugs or anything. And I got out. And the first thing I did was to go buy a packet of soluble sulfidine. I still needed my codeine.
Yes.
And I was still anxious. So I was buying benzodiazepines illegally as well. And I guess that brings us close to around about a year ago, um, when uh, the first lockdown was happening in the UK, and my life became unbearable. I'd lost so much money. I was so anxious. I was suicidal. And I knew that the drugs that I was taking were not working anymore. And in order to get the same feeling, I would need to take an amount that would put my life at risk. So I didn't know what to do, who to turn to. And it was just by chance a friend, or no, my brother had a friend who was connected to the three principles.
Uh,
And
uh,
I got my first session, which with um, Bill Pettit.
He's a psychiatrist.
okay.
Yeah, and who's part of three principles, and that went well. So I thought I'll have some more of this. I read the books by Sid Banks and the lectures, and I thought, wow, this makes sense to me. And then Harry kindly gave me some of his time as well, and we had a session. And during that session, I think I probably went in desperate, but came out completely different in that I realized I had a realization through the three principles. I didn't need to be addicted. I didn't need to be addicted. I just thought I was addicted.
Hmm.
And and here I am now. I don't take any drugs at all. I don't have
Wow.
any anxiety. And if I have pain, I can take codeine, which I was once addicted to, knowing that it won't take me back to addiction because in I don't believe I'm an addict. I'm not an addict. And that's where, despite the very good work that Narcotics Anonymous do, which I was a member of at one time, um, but they don't have a very good success rate. Three Principles is different in that way, in that people see the spiritual side and also uh, the love inside, the love that comes from the people in the Three Principles. And also, if I was to take a codeine tablet, or even if I don't drink alcohol, but if I was to have a drink of alcohol, I would be told to sit on the naughty step, go back to step one and study that again and again and say, one day at a time, I have transgressed by taking a drug. Well, no, I can do that. I can do all those things that no other human being can now because I am not an addict. And
Hmm.
I refuse to have that label against me. And I know that I will die in the same way. I don't, my confidence, my my enjoyment of life and enjoyment is now. I mean, I was just sitting outside in my garden. We've got a beautiful sunny day in the summer here in the northeast of England. And just, you know, I'm a very spiritual man. I believe in God. I was looking around and I was thinking, oh my goodness, how can people not believe in God? This beautiful world that we've got exists for a reason.
Yes.
You exist for a reason, you know, and that reason for me now is to share my experience, share my love unconditionally to anybody who wants to hear it. And I'd hope at some time I can get to help any person who thinks they're suffering from addiction or suffering from anxiety, because there's no need to. It's just thoughts. That's all it is. And that has been my journey. And I'm a 58-year-old man, single man.
Wow. Amazing, amazing. So maybe you can, so one of my next questions is actually, I kind of know the answer. What did you have to do to overcome, to bounce back from your lowest points? So maybe you can talk to me more about the three principles and how that helped you to turn your life around from the lows of being addicted and having the addiction to now being in a place of stability. What did you have to do specifically?
Cleone,
Yes.
for a sec, Mark. Mark will answer your question, but I just want to tell a story that we talked at the Suffolk User Mental Health Group in Suffolk, England, and Mark talked about oneness and some beautiful, but he told a story that I think will help preempt that question that you have. He told a story about a bunch of rats were thrown in a beaker in water, and they were swimming around, and they could swim for about an hour, and then about an hour they started to sink and they got pulled out, and then they rested, and maybe next day they put them back in the water. How much longer did they last the second time?
The rats?
The rats. You won't be able to answer it. I'm going to answer it for you.
Thank you.
60 times. 60 hours versus 1 hour. When you don't have that stress.
Sorry, it was actually 10 minutes.
Oh.
Yeah.
What is it?
Sorry. The first attempt, it was 10 minutes.
Oh, not an hour. Okay, 10 minutes and then 60. Okay, thank you, Mark. I'm not a scientist, so of course I have a little embellishment to the story. But what I'm trying to emphasize when Mark talks is when you know you're going to be saved, when you're relieved of those worries and just trying to survive, it's totally different. The relaxed feeling you have, the ability to think clearly, the ability to survive 60 times longer because there's no stress. You see what people are doing with themselves negatively? Every time you have that negative, I can't survive, I'm really worried, I've got all this tension, you're cutting your life down.
That's true. That makes sense.
Yeah. So anyway, that's a Mark story, not a Harry story. And thank you for correcting me, Mark. I'll remember to tell it better next time.
Awesome.
Go ahead, Mark. Can you answer her question?
Yeah. So really, it's I would say it's difficult to describe in words because it's more of a feeling in that. I'd had plenty of counselling in the past, I can tell you, hours and hours. And this with the three principles was unlike anything else. It wasn't a case of analysing my past, trying to change me in any way, trying to do this, trying to do that, using any sort of smart techniques. It was just words that made sense, that came into my heart, and a loving feeling that I got from the person who was talking to me. And I knew it was genuine. And that warmth, that love is the thing that lifted me spiritual. It was a real spiritual experience, lifted me spiritually and made me realize that I'd been killing myself all this time that I was an anxious addict, and I wasn't. You know, I just, it might have been after one session with Harry, and I went out and I thought, my God, I don't even feel the feelings of addiction anymore. They're gone. You know, I'm at one with nature. I am part of nature. I'm part of that love, which is ultimately God, which we all are part of, and we all are part of each other.
So the counseling that you guys have was a big part of your turnaround process for you.
I don't call it counseling even. Well, counseling, we talked. Yeah, that's what you get.
We
And
played.
we play, yeah, play. And but you get love, you get respect, and you get honesty, integrity, and a feeling like no other feeling that I've ever had in counseling.
Interesting.
So
So what? Go
just,
on.
so it's people come come to me. They always have only one problem, no matter what the circumstances.
Okay.
They're overthinking in their head. And they want to know how to control those thoughts. That's every person, 100%. 100. Now I know how to do that to help people with that. Relax. Cleone, bad jokes have a wonderful medicinal effect on people, and I have a lot of bad jokes. So it lifts. As soon as the feelings lift, that's the healing. I call it the us energy. When you go to church,
right?
People arrive all in separate realities.
Mm-hmm.
Then all of a sudden they start singing.
Mm-hmm.
And then after a while they're really singing.
Right.
That's the counseling.
Interesting. Okay.
And when you have those good feelings, you touch more than your soul touches God, touches that love that Mark is expounding to. It's the love that heals, not the words. I know what's in here, Cleone. It's not that great. It's not that great. Honest. Nothing special. But that us energy and that heal. See, Mark was ready. And we just went there together.
Okay.
And he lifts me. He lifts me.
Right.
Yeah. Just like when you smile to somebody who's on the street and they respond to your smile, it lifts you.
Mm-hmm.
You can't help but be touched when a baby looks you in the eyes and smiles. It lifts you.
Yeah.
Mark's a baby. Harry's a baby. Oh, Cleone's a baby.
Interesting. So I'm trying to understand. I guess maybe I'll just go to my next question. So what are 3 things you wish you had available when you were at your lowest point that you didn't have available then?
3 things I wish I had available.
When you were at your lowest point.
It's a difficult one. I wish I'd had company. Yeah. I was alone. So I was suffering alone. I wish I'd known about the 3 principles and had knowledge of the 3 principles, because that certainly would have helped. And I wish I'd had love. I had love with my family, but I didn't have love from any other person. So I'm a single man. So I don't have a wife, and I don't have children. That's been my life, but I was missing love.
Okay. So maybe you can tell me, Harry, maybe you can go into the three principles, or maybe just a brief synopsis of, when someone comes to you with their issues, how does the three principles work?
Well, first of all, there are three spiritual principles of psychology.
Okay.
So there are spiritual psychology, because you can hear the spiritual side, but you also hear the psychological answers that people need to have. So the psychological side is that what you think, that's creating from it. And the spiritual side is exact. So you use the word in your faith, God,
Mhm.
or Christ consciousness or something like that, Jesus Christ. In the psychological world, the same thing for God is mind, universal mind, not personal mind. We're not talking
Mhm.
about how we're all different thinking up here.
Right.
And then within the universal God or universal mind. So I have taught a lot of indigenous people. So I use the word spirit because that's what I'm comfortable with. But we're talking about the three principles, so we'll call it universal mind. And then within every human being connected to that, we have innate health. We're never broken. We're always perfectly designed, unlimited potential, except we obviously cover it up with what Mark was talking about, cover up. But
Yes.
the reality is that he was never broken, and he knew it somewhere deep inside himself. That's why people have so much frustration, because they know they deserve to be freer than what the present state of the world is providing. They know that. They know they're not what they have become. Nobody goes through drugs without having a side effect. Nobody. And the same thing with drinking and so on. Nobody can go through it. So you have this innate wisdom within yourself, which is in a way like soul. But soul in our language is consciousness. Universal consciousness on an individual level is soul. And consciousness is just an awareness. I'm aware that it's a spiritual world, and I'm aware that it's a world of thought. I'm aware that it's a spiritual world. That's the formless. I'm aware that it's a world of thought, formless into form.
Mhm.
And thought is the vehicle, the neutral vehicle that connects the spiritual and the psychological world together, not personal thought, universal thought.
Okay.
And you say to me, well, I don't know what universal thought is. Well, I don't know what it is either, but I can feel it. I can feel it. See, you have feelings. What are feelings? Indicating to you going in the right direction with God. I'm plugged in. I'm ready to rock and roll. And I'm unplugged in. And God's saying, you want a kick in the bum? You want to? I'm busy right now, God. Here, bend down. Oh, that really hurt. Gee whiz. God says, you listening now? No, I'm busy right now still. I'm still. Oh, bend down again. Boom. Oh, boy. Oh, I'm listening. I'm listening. See, thought is the vehicle that creates. You put in with your free will to think whatever you want into the neutral energy of thought.
Mhm.
God thought, though, not Cleone thought. We
Right.
know about that one. You've been an expert listening to that bullshit. Excuse the
Yeah.
expression. Yeah. So what we find is that by our understanding of the principles, we don't understand them verbally, but intuitively. It's the same way in God. What the heck is God? You feel it inside yourself or you don't. That's the way it is. And can you explain it to anyone? No, not really.
No.
Is God there? Yeah. So the reality of how this world operates. So what I teach people is the right use of mind.
Hmm.
Right? You have to understand these three principles are operating through you, whether you're aware of it or not. But since they are, see, if they were bogus, if you test them out and they don't work, you leave them alone. But if they actually work, you might as well be more and more aware of it. That's all that happened to Mark. He became more aware of who he is.
Mm-hmm.
And when he saw it, he said, ah, that's the past, baby. I don't have to go there. The past brings your personality until you realize you don't have to follow it. You can uplift, get a better feeling, and all of a sudden your world looks totally different. And if you want to talk about the past again, it will bring you down.
Hmm. Okay. Well, I don't know. Some people say talking about the past is, it's helpful. Like, um, well, sometimes it's helpful.
Yeah, but mostly not.
I see. I see. Okay, that makes sense. So my next question is. Oh,
There was a little question mark on that one.
yeah, question mark.
Go ahead. Sorry.
So my next question is, so to wrap this up, so what words of hope can you give to our listeners, people who are going through anxiety attacks, mental health challenges? What would you tell them to encourage them with their mental health challenge? I guess I'll take the answer from both of you.
Well, I would just tell them that they are not alone, they are not unique, and this will not last. It will pass. It does pass. I'm living proof of that. It
Mhm.
could have passed for me if the three principles had been around when I was in my teens, but I didn't have it then. It will pass. You are healthy, you are beautiful, and if you can find within yourself the tranquility that you seek, without a doubt. And yeah, and you can look to the three principles if you want to try that,
Yes.
and you can help that way. But it helped me, but it does pass, and I am a living example of that.
Okay, cool.
And that's the proof, by the way. Like it's one thing to give an opinion. Like if I said it, it would just be a
An
story
opinion.
about Mark. It wouldn't be what I experienced. But Mark's talking about what he experienced.
Yeah.
Nobody can take that away from him. Nobody. And I'd like to, from this is my fourth book, Evolution of Addiction Recovery Reopened.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's a beautiful book, if I don't say so myself. And I want to read, this is the first page. An Indigenous client who was resident in a Canadian mental health facility operated under the governance of BC Mental Health and Addiction Services had been troubled for many days. And then one day the clouds cleared and she wrote, listen to this. Can you hear the silence? You must listen closely now. If you listen, you can hear it. It is a peaceful, quiet sound. I love to listen to the silence. It's so nice when it's around. Can you hear the silence? That's wisdom.
Wow, that's powerful.
And she was in a mental health facility
Hmm.
in Vancouver, big one. And
Okay.
yeah, and she had the answer. The Indigenous have a test. Your test is in you're wise, your wisdom, if you can live with your own company.
True.
And can you hear the silence? You can't possibly live with your own self when you can't hear the silence. All you hear is the noise, and it takes you away from that sublime, deep, profound, soft feeling that heals.
Hmm.
All you have to do is go towards the silence.
The
And what
silence.
yeah. And you know, I hate to say it, but Jesus Christ said the same thing.
Hmm. Yeah, just listen for the silence. That's a good point. I like that. I like that. Very introspective. Very introspective. Love it. So my next question, so we're gonna actually switch the interview up a little bit, and we're gonna where I want to ask you, as you notice behind me, there's a book. It says The Music of My Life. Basically, it's a book about my journey with bipolar and music therapy. So my question to you is, if you were to think of a song that describes your journey, what would it be and why?
Yeah, I would say I songs that resonate with me. Gosh, I'm a classical musician, but I also love pop and rock. Uh, and I always like the Beatles. So the Long and Winding Road, I always think of. I play that a lot, and I would say that because it's describing a journey. Your life is a journey, but
Mm-hmm.
ultimately it leads to love as well. But one song that I've also been listening to a lot lately is that younger people will not be familiar with, which is from the man from Manchester. To dream the impossible dream, to fight the undefeatable foe. That song, this is my quest to follow that star. You know, you can do the impossible, and that's what that song is telling you. So
Mm.
those two combined, I would say.
Cool, cool.
You,
Harry?
I'm not saying you can do the impossible. I believe you can do what you and be what you thought was impossible to be. You can be that. And I can tell you that because I am that now.
Amazing, amazing. Love it.
Okay, well, my favorite song is by, you never heard of this guy, but what a beautiful
Oh,
world.
yeah, such more.
Yeah, I know you didn't ever hear of him. So, yeah, I love Louis Armstrong. And
Louis Armstrong. Yes, yes. I know who Louis Armstrong is.
you want to hear an interesting story? This Louis Armstrong was born in New Orleans, and his mother was a prostitute, etc., etc. And so he started playing on the streets around 7 years old. And a Jewish family saw him and hired him to work, and then they took him in to live. And he learned he knows Hebrew and Yiddish, and he has the Star of David on him and stuff.
Mhm.
And he incorporated that feeling into his music. Not all his music, but a lot of his music. And he says what he learned from all of that has made, and that's to me who we are. He's not just a little kid, and not just black. He's whatever he experiences in life,
Mhm.
and it changes him. When
Yeah.
I when I went when I was a hippie hitchhiking around, I know you can see easily how I was a hippie, uh, a big hippie. Uh, I lived in Denmark, and it changed me totally. I came back here and I says, "Oh, what a bunch of dumb people here! They don't talk about anything." So, but it had changed me. That's what happened to Mark. He didn't become a different person. He just he saw something that, what a beautiful world, you know, what a
Love
beautiful
it.
life. And that's the reality. And honestly, Cleone, that's my story too. It's not as dramatic as Mark's, but it's the same thing. I am living far beyond my dreams. I had dreams, but I've lived far beyond them. And that has really impressed me. And Cleone, it didn't start till I was 69 years old.
Wow.
Isn't that amazing?
Yes.
That
Well,
alone that is an amazing. It didn't happen until I was 69.
wow. It's crazy how, I mean, the older you get, the wiser you get, and the more experiences you get, the more introspective you can become, because life just does that for you, which is amazing.
Actually, a lot of people when they get older get stupider, but you, on the other hand, are becoming more introspective. That is correct. You
Right.
you are. And that's beautiful.
Mhm.
That's the right
Awesome.
direction.
Awesome. So how can we stay in touch with you all? What are your social media handles?
Well, my website is acttraining.biz. And on it, there's a button called mental health transformations. You click on it, and then there's a subset of the mental health transformations. But I deal in a lot of worlds, more than anybody you've ever met, and very diverse. And I'm the type of guy that just goes. He doesn't. As long as I don't think, I'm in good hands.
Awesome. Awesome.
And
So
so
this act training biz.
acttraining.biz, and within it there's lots of videos and on podcasts and in a lot of different areas, including addiction, alcoholism, and the 3 principles. Very successful. In a year, in the podcast we've had 23,000 downloads.
Amazing.
Yeah, where they're coming from beats me, but anyway. And I'm also have podcasts in Tahi, Spiritual Unity, the 3 principles in the Muslim community. Perfect combination, a 27-year-old Muslim from Morocco and a 74-year-old Jew together. Couldn't be better. Those 2 groups get along so well.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's a proof that the cultural differences are not the dominating force that people are making them into, and
Mhm.
type of thing. And it's the same thing. I want to tell this one story. It's so cool. I went to a conference, and it was a very fancy hotel, but I had to share it but it was like 2 houses in 1 suite or something. It was and I met this guy, and we just hit it off. And we talked nonstop for a day and a half. And then one second I looked at it, I said, "Oh my God, you're black." He said, "Well, of course I'm black." I said, but I had been so engrossed in who he is and what he was sharing that I hadn't bothered to look. So if that can happen, obviously inside we connect in a different way than we connect when we look at status and color, etc., etc. Women, men, all that stuff.
Mhm.
All of that is bullshit. Said it again. Yeah, Mark, you'll have to clean me up a little. I have to sound a little more English, But isn't Mark's story amazing?
Yes, it's a great story. I'm really glad that I want to thank you guys for coming on the show and sharing the principles and also your journey with us. I'm sure that someone is going to be inspired by your story, knowing that it's possible to overcome despite what addictions you may have, or you're able to overcome. So that's what's encouraging. So with that,
been an honor, Cleone. Honestly, if anybody gets anything from this, I'll be thrilled. Well, it's been my honor to run this podcast.
Awesome. So with that said, we are going to come to a conclusion, and to all you resilient minds out there, until next time, please subscribe to us on all our platforms, and don't forget to rate the show and leave a review for us on Apple Podcasts. Also, join the community of resilient minds and sign up for our monthly newsletter at cleonecrawford.com. Be sure to grab a copy of my book, The Music of My Life, on all Amazon marketplaces to get to know me better. And if you can think of one person that will receive value from today's show or connect with Mark's testimonial, please share it with them. Feel free to take a screenshot of this week's episode of the podcast and tag us on Instagram. You can tag myself at Only Cleone or Resilient Minds 365. And remember, mental health is not a death sentence. Despite your illness, you can strive, thrive, and live a life of abundance. Until next time, I'm Cleone Crawford, and I'm signing off.